All right, first thing I want to talk about is how you figure out, like, a fairly simple way to figure out rhythm stuff. So, with looking at the crash course material, so rhythm number one, trying to skip this over a little bit. So you have a 4/4 time signature, and everything in the crash course is a 4/4 time signature. And this means you have 4 quarter notes that fills up the bar. And the quarter note equals 1 beat. So a quarter note, every time you have that metronome click, that's the length of a quarter note. And then the eighth notes is half of that. So the full count for something like this is just 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and which is what we have over here. So think of it like as a rhythm template. So when you're going to figure out rhythms where you need to like write out a full count and underline the part that you play, you want to write it out using the smallest subdivision. So in this case, eighth note is the smallest one. If it was 16th notes, then you'd be writing out 1E and 2E and 3E and 4E and or that's a ways off. So with this particular rhythm, well, there's nothing fancy going on. It's just constant eighth notes the whole time. So when you watch the rhythm work set stuff, which is the thing I recommend focusing on, because I've already done all the video instruction on that, so it'll be much more, I guess, hands-on appropriate. So this way you hear and see everything done on the video. So big things. Actually, I'm getting sidetracked. So when you do these things, what I want you to do, so you're working through the rhythm work sets, I would say, again, just stick with the chord progression stuff first before dealing with any of the single note or legato stuff. So any of the alternate examples in the Patreon rhythm work sets, don't do any of the alternate stuff yet. That's for, when you get very comfortable with certain rhythms. So you're going to be starting at 60 beats a minute, and you need to be able to play that correctly before you move up to 65, 70, and so on. When you get to 120, that's where I'd like you to stop and send me a video demonstration of you playing it at 60 and at 120. And if you question if things are going correctly, you can send other progress videos whenever you can. Well, let's start with rhythm work set number 1 and get that down. But when you start to progress further, I just want you to know how to do this, figuring out the count in case you move ahead in like the rhythm crash course before I ever have the video stuff. And I really don't know when I'm going to get that done. I still have a bit more material to write for this. But let's look at number 2 here in the rhythm crash course. We kind of went over this yesterday. So when you do these, again, you have your rhythm template written out. And what you're going to do is just underline the part of the beat or the part of the rhythm that you're going to play on. So you look back over here, you got 2/8 notes, quarter note, 2/8 notes, quarter note. So here you see you're going to be doing downbeat, upbeat, downbeat, downbeat, upbeat, downbeat. So yeah, when you're doing this stuff, and this will be talked about in the rhythm work set videos, tap your foot with that metronome. Gotta tap the foot with the metronome. If you don't, you're just like shortchanging yourself. It's not a shortcut that's going to help you. You have to learn how to do that if you want to have the best rhythm. You're also going to be counting out loud as you play. At the very least, at 60 beats a minute with like the simple chord progressions. So again, with rhythm work set number 1 for Patreon, when you go through that first chord progression, you got to be able to say it out loud as you play it, at the very least at 60 beats a minute. The foot tapping continues on for all of it. Got to keep that going. And the hand and foot need to be synced up. So every time you have a downstroke, your hand goes down. So when the foot taps with the metronome, your hand goes down, and your hand's going to come up when your foot comes up for the upbeat. So it's constantly down, up, down, up, down, up. So sometimes you hit the strings and sometimes you don't. So anyway, with this, figuring out the count, if you need to underline something, if it's like a difficult one, then basically you look at, like, are you playing on the down and or the upbeat? In this case, yes, you're playing on the downbeat and the upbeat here. So that's why we underline this and this. So that's beat 1 taken care of. Now we look at beat 2. What do we play on beat 2? Just the downbeat, because we have the quarter note. So we only underline 2. We don't underline the an of 2 because we're not playing anything on the upbeat of that. So we're not going to count the an out loud when we play. Moving on to beat 3, we are playing on both the down and the upbeat. So we're going to underline that. And then beat number 4, only playing on the downbeat. We have that quarter note. And because each bar is the same, I'm not going to bother underlining that. But so now you can see clearly where you need to say the count out loud. Again, if you can't say it, you can't play it. It's so helpful when it comes to more challenging stuff. So, being able to do it with the simple stuff is important, because if you can't even do that, the hard stuff's really going to get you. So you got your 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 1 and 2, 3 and 4, and so on. Let me grab a more challenging one here. Let's see. All right. Okay. So this one's a little more complicated. It's still just the same rhythm for each bar. So, let me just do this and simplify it. Okay. So, we see that we are playing on the down and the upbeat in beats 1. Or in beats 1. They said it plural. Okay. So now we look ahead. So, we aren't playing anything on the downbeat of 2, but we are playing on the upbeat of 2. So we underline that. Now we move on to beat 3. See, there is nothing being played on the downbeat of 3, but we are playing on the upbeat of 3. So we underline that. And we get to beat 4, just a quarter note. So we know it's only on the downbeat of 4, nothing on the upbeat of 4. So that's the count for what's on screen right now. 1 and 4. 1 and 4. So something like this will be challenging because it's upbeat focus. You got to keep tapping your foot on the downbeats, and sometimes you're not strumming on the downbeat. You just be strumming in between, and things get a little tricky there. So the rhythm work set stuff has gotten to that point. In fact, I think this is actually going to be, this exact rhythm will be rhythm work set number 10's rhythm. But so again, just use this video as a refresher on how to underline stuff and figure it out as you go. And one more time, start with rhythm work set number 1 on Patreon. And you don't have to get through all the chord progression stuff before you send me a video. So let's take it one step at a time. I'd much rather that happen so we can check progress as you go. And so as soon as you get example number 1 up to 120, make the video playing it at 60, where you're tapping your foot, counting out loud, and then play it at 120, still tapping your foot. If it's too fast for you to count out loud, don't worry about it. But try and do that. Because when we get the 16th notes, 120 beats a minute of eighth notes is the same speed, mathematically, as 16th notes at 60 beats a minute. And gonna have you count out loud 60 beats a minute with 16th notes. So if you have any questions about this, any questions that come up in the meantime, you know, hit me up. And yeah, now that you are on Patreon, man, we can do actual, like, more lesson stuff involving the solos and whatnot that you ask about. And this way everybody benefits. Everybody gets to see them. So, fuck yeah. Yeah, I think that covers everything. But again, if you got questions, let me know. And I'll be looking forward to your first video demo. And yeah, rock and roll.